What's up guys, it's Faded, welcome back to the channel, hope you're all doing awesome as always, and the Modern Warfare 3 beta is out in full swing. People are playing it, enjoying it, giving their feedback, and Sledgehammer is listening and making swift changes and adjustments, which has the player base very happy with the game, even in its beta state. So today we're looking at the Weekend 2 update and all the things that it has added. I'm not going to waste any of your time, you guys already know all the things you can do to support me, whether liking, subscribing, commenting, or sharing this video with a friend. So with that being said, let's discuss all these changes. So with Weekend 2 we got some new maps added, those being Orlov military base for ground war, and then the return of High Rise, which the community wasted absolutely no time in bringing back the trick shots, as 1337 Gray hit the world first trick shot on his very first attempt, mind you. So it's safe to say the clips and TikToks will be out in full force once the game launches come November. You also have the new mode Cutthroat, and then Search and Destroy just got added, which oddly enough has not been included in a ton of betas, so that makes it a welcomed addition. Now, players have voiced their concerns and criticisms about the beta to Sledgehammer games, and they've kindly and swiftly responded and made changes accordingly. One of the big ones is UI visibility. So they address this so now enemy operators will display a red nameplate above their head, which makes it much easier to pick out your targets, because all too often I would find myself entering a room with somebody else and either shooting a teammate thinking it was an enemy or hesitating to figure out if it was an enemy and end up getting killed. Side note here, Sledgehammer is the best dev when it comes to patch notes. They include so many small extra details that make the transparency with the player base much better. For example, when weapons get hit with damage nerfs, you'll see studios like Infinity Ward refer to those changes as, quote, small decrease to damage, whereas Sledgehammer will actually tell you the previous DPS and the new one, and whether it's an increase or a decrease. So I just thought I'd point that out. Now, the next thing that Sledgehammer changed was the dreaded slide delay. Now, this is something that the player base has been adamant about needing changing since the beta first dropped. After executing a slide cancel, you'll experience a time delay before being able to sprint again. So once Sledgehammer started seeing the feedback about this, they mentioned in the very first patch notes that they were, quote, already addressing the slide delay. Come Weekend 2, and it's been decreased by 200 milliseconds. So now, while I would like to see it removed completely, this change is already much better than it was previously. There's still a noticeable delay, but it isn't nearly as bad as it was before the change was made. So now in terms of gameplay mechanics and weapons, small changes to tac stance were made, as well as the first ever weapon nerf of the beta. Yeah, I bet you never heard that before. So the recoil spread for sliding and tac stance was adjusted for several of the weapon classes due to hipfire sliding proving to not be as effective whatsoever unless you were within maybe 10 meters or so of the person, which why not just stand straight and shoot them if you're that close. Regardless, as I said earlier, Sledgehammer gave actual percentages and numbers for these changes, so the spread has been decreased from 17 to 26% for ARs, 14 to 17% for SMGs, 30 to 45% for LMGs, which that makes the Pulamya LMG infinitely more useful. For marksman rifles, the decrease was anywhere from 29 to 31%, and then finally the pistols were decreased from anywhere from 10 to 20%. Now, as for that nerfed weapon that I mentioned, is the Striker, aka the UMP, and I mean, this honestly had to happen. It was wrecking lobbies during Weekend 1, and it's clear that it needed some major tweaks. So near medium damage was decreased from 39 to 36, the near medium damage range was decreased from 24 meters to 19 meters, medium damage range has been decreased from 30 to 25, far medium damage is decreased from 28 to 27, minimum damage is decreased from 23 to 21, headshot multiplier has been increased from 1.2 to 1.3 times, and lower arm damage multiplier has been increased from 1 to 1.1 times. So Sledgehammer's reasoning behind these adjustments is, quote, we expect the Striker to remain a competitive option thanks to its fire rate and excellent accuracy. However, these changes reduce its damage output at long distances, preventing it from outperforming assault rifles. Adjustments to damage multipliers intend to increase consistency of this weapon. Yeah, so about that decrease to damage output at long distances, I was streaming yesterday, which by the way, twitch.tv/fadedmystery if you haven't followed me yet, and I was running around with the Striker after the nerf just to see how it handled at range, and yeah, I'm just gonna let this clip speak for itself.
Did the UMP get a silent nerf, or am I just not using the right build? How the f***?
As for kill streaks, modes, and map changes, we saw adjustments to the Guardian that decreased its health and lifetime by 27% and 50% respectively. For ground war, your vehicle no longer has limited fuel, and for hardpoint, that annoying pan-in sequence with the spawn camera that was introduced in Modern Warfare 2019 has been removed. So for estate, Sledgehammer added collision near areas of the waterfall to prevent players from accessing unintended locations. So if you've seen any of the out-of-map glitches floating around on your timeline, that's where that's from. Changes were made to Favela that saw players no longer be killed immediately after respawning near the yellow car on Side Street, and that one was frustrating to deal with, so I'm glad that that's gone. For the power plant and ground war, collision was added near Reactor B to prevent more out-of-map exploits, and they added a note that addressed frustrations with the current spawn logic, saying that they're making adjustments for launch and encouraged the players to clip, quote, unfavorable spawns and share them with the team. Another example there of transparency with the players, so I'm really pleased with the communication currently. And as for additional updates and changes that don't necessarily fit into a specific category, operator movement animations will now play properly in the moments following a respawn. For UI changes, they added a missing icon for the Incursion 12 long barrel attachment for the SVA 545, which is the AN94, and players will now be notified of playlist updates while idling in the menus. So for stability improvements, which I know it's a beta, but God knows we need some stability right now, they addressed a crash that occurred while matchmaking for Ground War, they fixed multiple crashes that occurred when launching the game, and they resolved issues that caused network service failure errors to come up when trying to join somebody else's squad. So that's all the changes that have been made. Overall thoughts and opinions, I'm actually enjoying my time with the game. So gameplay wise, in terms of mechanics and movement and gunplay, it's probably the best Call of Duty of the last 5 years, but that dreaded engagement optimized matchmaking that I said would sour the experience 2 months ago is indeed souring the experience. Hopefully Sledgehammer will listen and try to migrate the system over to its own separate ranked playlist for the comp players, but seeing that it's an Activision actually scratched that, a Microsoft patent, because the deal has gone through as of just a few hours ago, it's probably not going away anytime soon. Who knows, maybe Phil Spencer could remove it entirely, seeing as how most, if not all, Call of Duty titles will be on Game Pass within the next year or so. He'll want to listen to our frustrations about this system that's made the modern titles a less than stellar experience for so many of us. So yeah, with that said, that's gonna do it for this video, and as I said, you guys know how to support me if you enjoyed. My intros and outros are always way too long for me telling you what you already know when it comes to showing support for the channel and my videos. But anyways guys, that's all from me, and I'll see you all in whatever video I upload next. Take care.